Does God exist? This story may not be exactly true, but there is an interesting logical element to it. A university professor posed this question to his students. Was everything that exists created by God? One of the students bravely answered, yes, it was created by God. Did God create everything? Asked the professor. Yes, sir, answered the student. The professor asked, if God created everything, does that mean he created evil since evil exists? According to the principle that our actions define us, God is evil. The student fell silent upon hearing this answer. The professor was very pleased with himself. He bragged to his disciples that he had once again proven that belief in God was a myth. Another student raised his hand and said, "Can I present a question?" "Of course," replied the professor. The student asked, "Does cold exist?" "What question? Have you never had a cold?" The students laughed at the young man's question. The young man answered, "Actually, sir, cold does not exist. According to the laws of physics, what we consider cold is actually a lack of heat. The person or object can be studied by whether it has or whether it transfers energy. Absolute zero is minus 273 degrees Celsius is the complete absence of heat. Any substance at this temperature becomes inactive and unable to react. Cold does not exist. We created this word to describe what we feel in the absence of heat." The student continued, "Professor, does darkness exist?" The professor replied, "Of course there is." The student replied, "Sir, you are wrong again. Darkness does not exist. Darkness is actually the absence of light. We can study light but not darkness. We can use Newton's prism to break white light into many colors and study the different wavelengths of any color. We can't measure darkness. A simple ray of light can penetrate the world of darkness and illuminate it. How can you tell how dark a space is? You measure the amount of light present, don't you? Darkness is a concept that man uses to describe what happens in the absence light." Eventually, the young man asked the professor, "Sir, does evil exist?" This time, the professor answered uncertainly, "Of course, as I already said, we see it every day. Cruelty among the people, lots of crimes and rape all over the world. These things are nothing but examples of evil." To this, the student replied, "Evil does not exist, sir, or at least it does not exist by itself. Evil is the absence of God. It is similar to darkness and cold, a word created by man to describe the absence of God. God did not create evil. Evil is not faith and love, which exist like light and heat. Evil is the result of the absence of God's love in man's heart. It is like the cold which comes when there is no heat, or like the darkness which comes when there is no light." The professor fell silent and sat down. The name of the young student was Albert Einstein.